Welcome back to I'm Still Here. I'm Heather. In 1998, at the age of 26, I was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. It changed everything for me and for my friends and family, but I'm still here. And in celebration of 25 years, I have my friend Christy back with us today. So, hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
That's good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. It's good to.
How could 25 years have gone by so
I know.
fast?
I know. It's so crazy
What?
to think that we've been like living with this for 25 years, right?
Yeah.
I think, I don't know. It takes me back to like one, we just were so young and I don't know if we knew anything at the time, really,
I
right? But
didn't feel like we were so young until Sydney turned that age. I was like, she's so
yeah,
young.
yeah, yeah. And some of it, maybe it's good that we didn't know as much. I don't know. We just kind of tackled it, right?
Yep.
So you've been on here before and we've talked about a lot of different things, but let's just talk a little bit about kind of what you felt like or what what you remember about those early yucky December days.
It was a shock.
Yeah.
Um, I heard it from my mom and I didn't believe her. How could that be? And so I think my parents went up to your parents' house and got the real scoop, and I cried for a few days. I knew I wasn't going to cry on you, so I had to pull it together before I called. And I just thought, oh, that's going to be hard to tell people. So when I
Yeah.
finally did, I mean, it wasn't a long time, but
Yeah.
when I did call, I got Larry's dad, and I just said, "Tell her I know,"
Yeah.
and I wanted to talk to you when you were ready, or and
Yeah.
I must have called back again because you had a lot going on.
Yeah. Well, and I think, I was thinking about it before this call too. I mean, we've known each other our entire lives, right? We grew up together. We spent almost every day of our childhood together.
Yes.
But when I was diagnosed, we weren't super close. Like we'd both gotten married. We were kind of, you know,
We just drifted. We were
yeah,
doing working
drifted.
and
Yeah,
yeah.
living kind of different lives. Got together occasionally kind of thing, but it I just remember, I think for both of us, it was a little bit like, holy smokes, like I don't know. I just feel like um I don't want to say it was uncomfortable, but it was like a little bit hard. And you just dove head first in. And I just so appreciate that, thinking about that. So I mean, I
I
think
just I've oh go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I've never been. I kind of consider myself a bit of a wishy-washy person, but I don't think I had ever been so sure of anything. So I'm like, well, all of this has given me the realization that with intensity I have clarity, and I knew for sure I wanted to be a part of it or help in any way that I could. And you
Yeah.
know, yeah, I think we were young. We didn't think a lot about the end of times or anything, but
Right.
I was like, I should never have not had you. I knew I'd lose parents or siblings or a spouse, but you were always in my mind
Right.
going to be
We
there.
had watched beaches many times together, though.
Yeah, that is true.
As a precursor to all of this.
That's right.
Oh, shoot. And if you don't know beaches, you're young
It's,
and you should go check out the movie, right? I
yeah.
don't know what else to say about that. Yeah,
uh,
but it just was one of those things that you just kind of said, like, I'm here to do this, whatever you need for it to be, right?
yeah. I think
And
I even quit my job without telling you.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
how in I was. I don't know
Which
what I would have done if you said, I don't need it. I'm good.
yeah, it just became a really easy kind of that third piece of that, kind of that puzzle or that triangle that surrounded me, like with my mom and Larry and then you, to be able to between the three of you, you guys could handle me most
I was
of
the time waster. But my superpower was wasting time with you.
Well, not just wasting time, but trying things out. And like,
that is true.
you know what I mean? Like where there was so many things that it was just kind of like, okay, well, like, you know, I mean, everybody, of course, is giving me a million ideas of things that I should be doing or could try or whatever. And even just on a very basic level, we knew like exercise is good and, you know, healthy food is good and whatever. So I think I just appreciated that we, you know, we just kind of took our friendship from what we knew it to be and just like moved it over to cancer, you know. So we did a lot of shopping and looking around and yeah, walking and
talking. I would love to know how many hours we spend on the phone.
I know. I know. Yeah, it's funny. We rarely text. Even now, we rarely text. We almost always talk on the phone. We still live a couple hours apart, so we don't see each other as much. But yeah, our friendship.
You're probably the only one I still talk to more than I text because everything has flipped, you know?
Yeah, I agree. No, I agree. I think that's the way it is. But I mean, we were kind of in the early days of like Whole Foods and Trader Joe's. Was there I didn't even know Whole Foods was it?
I think so. I think I remember the one in Evanston we went to. That was probably maybe the first Whole Foods I'd been to. I think Ann Arbor probably had one.
I think there was a store, I can't remember if it was Trader Joe's or Whole Foods that was tucked kind of back in a little plaza. And now like their Whole Foods is, I think you're right. Now it's like much bigger and all of that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, just trying to figure out like, I don't know, how do we do this, right? So
yeah, we came up with new rules and we were gonna see what we could do.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Do you remember being scared? What do you remember?
I do. I mean, I didn't let my thoughts go very far, I don't think. Like, because I guess probably the earliest, I don't know the timing for real, but like the first transplant must have come up fairly quick. I mean,
it was March. I checked in on March 17th.
That's right. Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yeah.
I think those were scary days for me. And I think I spent a lot of those days because I think when Larry was at work, I drove to Ann Arbor every day, the first one when you were admitted. And I think I would kind of wipe the tears off of my face and go, you know, because that was scary. That was really scary.
I think I was honestly like, you know it, you remember parts of it better than I wasn't even, I mean, I was not even with it for some of those
I didn't
days.
know that at first. I was thinking about that this morning for some reason. We like joke. I think my dad was even there. I don't even know that you remember my dad being there, but we bickered about how to drive somewhere. And I thought, oh, whatever, you know, and then the same topic comes up however much later. And you thought the route that I had suggested was, and I was like, that was my route. And you didn't remember that conversation at all. So I think that was the first time I was like, oh, you really were out of it.
Yeah.
Or I might not have known. But I do remember just thinking, well, it's scary and I don't know what's going to happen, but it's not going to be today. And I would get in the car and go, you know, so I guess kind of like that Tuesdays with Maury, I didn't go to any bad thoughts for any length of time or.
Yeah.
We talked about a lot of stuff. We talked a lot about different scenarios and, you know, we just didn't stay there very long.
Yeah, I don't remember talking about like death really. I don't.
Not a little.
A little.
Not a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just worries about, you know.
What would happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I also remember a conversation. We were in the hospital, and again, I don't know if it was surgery or something, or I might have been even a transplant again. Like I bounced back, and we're talking about literally how healthy we are, and we were.
I know. Oh,
we were waiting.
We were waiting for you to get out. It was after the first transplant, and we were basically packing up and getting ready, like, we've got this, let's go. We got to get out of this unhealthy place. We got things to do. And it was so funny. We were like, wow, we feel like we knew something nobody else did.
Yeah. So like, I mean, it is interesting to kind of be coming out of the hospital and talking about how healthy we were. But I think that perspective was also just that we were so hyper focused on kind of all the good, right? And everything that we could do or everything, it just was interesting.
Yeah. I mean, how interesting that we got to throw everything we had at it for a while too, to just go, okay, we were firing on all cylinders because it was none of this, oh well, I'll just make a few changes.
No, it was pretty much like, what hadn't we changed, right?
Yeah.
That was kind of like what, and I think maybe that's a key point too, in terms of our friendship and even the relationships that I had, like it was so clear to me, like that you having gone through this with me and Larry and my mom, things like that, it was just solidified, like, yes, this is exactly who we are supposed to be and whatever forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even though there were still, more challenges ahead, for both of us. Right?
Yes.
I think, do you think some of that clarity, I mean, affected you also, right? And
yeah, I kind of was like, I only get one life and I'm not doing it the way I want to. And so I made a lot of big changes, and that I don't know what circumstances might have ever given me the courage to do that even. So, divorce, new, going back to school in a completely different field, pursuing, just so many changes. I don't know how I would have gotten, I mean, the route would have had to have been different if that all didn't happen. So
yeah, I think it's one of those things that you do, like, it is that clarity of, wow, how are we going to do this? And that's kind of, I mean, again, like, I didn't make changes in that respect. My relationship was solid, that kind of stuff, but it just does feel like before that, I don't think I'd ever thought about life in terms of like, what do I really want, or how precious it is to be there, right? And I just thought it was, you go through it, you go to college, you get a job, you do these things, like, and I think something like cancer changes all of that.
Yeah, it's almost like it was a bit of a do-over for me that I just don't even know I would have even occurred to me I could do. I don't know. It was life impacting for sure.
Yeah. Do you remember along the way, like, any of the hiccups, like, worried about progression, or do you feel like the scariest part was really at the beginning?
Well, the scariest part was probably always at the beginning. I do remember, I didn't really know the term red herring or something when
Yeah.
I was like, what? But I remember being pretty afraid again, and I think your scan anxiety or whatever it gets called, I'm pretty sure I had that too. Like, it just, we just knew how much everything could change from one result, it seemed like. And so
I think too, like that. So that was in 2008 when I had a little bit of progression a couple times, but then I had been on Foslodex since 2004 and it had been stable. And then I do a scan and they see something, and then we start Herceptin. And then also, I don't know why or how that, but we just kind of pushed for a biopsy of that, because it was kind of like, what are we doing? Why are we changing something that we're not sure of? But also, I was like 10 years out, which again, that's kind of one of those times that you worry more about recurrence or progression or whatever, just because like you don't know people who are farther than that. Like every time you get to one of these monumental things, you're like, oh gosh, who's here, or who's in front of me,
interference for me.
Yes, right. Exactly. But then I'm so grateful for having done that biopsy, because what it came back was as a red herring, which means that it wasn't cancer. It kind of
Right.
presented as that, but it wasn't. And what a huge boost, right?
Yeah.
To knowing that that was.
I think you've always had a clarity and confidence that I'm like, I don't know that I ever, that was inspiring to watch you go, no, we need to answer this better, or I don't want more, I want less, or, you had
Yeah.
strong opinions. And I think that a lot of people wouldn't have had the courage to
Well, I
push
think
back.
that, well, and I appreciate that, but I think part of it is also just realizing that what's on the other side of that might be great.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
again, to get that. And I think some of that came from even really early on, like with the chemo. Like initially you have cancer and you're like, get it out, get it out, get it out. Well, we weren't doing surgery, which was pretty unusual also with that. But man, to watch that tumor shrink, like, holy smokes, what a great thing. So maybe even just a little bit of that coming back, like, wait a second, let's take a look at that. And
And
there's probably
statements like,
some,
you're clobbering the cancer,
yeah, that's
clobbering it.
covering the
That
cancer.
will always be one of my favorite statements.
Yeah, yeah. And just so cool that that we could learn that and kind of keep going from that, right? I don't know. I do feel like I could have applied that to maybe a few other things. I don't know if the radiation was
Well,
but again, that is what it is.
turning out just right.
Yeah, still here, right?
Yes. These are the days I hoped for. And when we're at the cabin or Florida or tailgating at Michigan, it's, I don't even think I dared to hope for them. It was that scary.
Yeah. Well, I remember too thinking, like, I remember we used to talk, like, there will never be a day that we don't talk about cancer. And it's like, oh,
there's lots of days.
there's lots of days that we don't talk about cancer. There's probably not many days that we don't think about it a little bit, but it's not in the same context.
I think the first one I kind of remember, and it was funny. We had been, I think, at the zoo with Sydney, and she was tiny, and we lost that blanket that she loved.
Oh, her favorite
And I was
blanket.
like, and I think I saw someone else at the zoo, and I was like, wow, that's the first time because I think they were wearing a hat or something, and I was like, wow, weird. That was pretty early on to not think about it so much. I think,
yeah.
And someone had said you'll never do another thing where you don't think is this it or whatever, and I was like, I'm glad that wasn't true.
Yeah. Yeah, I think instead of it being like feeling like that, it's more, I think it has impacted our decision making and wanting to experience more or do more or make meaningful connections in life, but not it, I don't know, not it filling the room in the same way as what we thought it would,
Right.
So
I mean, I think one of my goals too of just hanging around was I just wanted things to feel kind of normal. I think that's, something I thought, well, I can, if we're all in the same place, if things feel normal when we're together, even if nothing around us that's going on is normal, we've sat and, played as little kids and chit-chatted. And I can remember giggling in waiting rooms and thinking, wow, these people probably think we're rude.
Yeah, I think having had a lifetime of memories to draw from was definitely, and a comfort level with each other was, something that was, just awesome and helpful.
Yeah. And so lucky, I guess, because not many people get that.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's funny because when people say lifelong friends, they'll say, yeah, we met in 7th grade. And I was like, you'd already done
we'd already clocked a few years by then.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how often do people reach out to you about cancer, or how has that been?
Oh, I have a lot. Not lately, I guess, since I'm not sitting in an office talking to people all day, every day anymore. But I mean, people know, I guess, because I talk about it. I'm like, it's such a good story. I got an email from an old account manager. I really didn't when I was corporate EDS stuff. that I didn't really even know her very well. And she emailed me. She's like, I remembered your story and I wanted you to know I went with my sister and I never would have, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, and I did. I told people and patients when I was working with them every day, and I got a lot of, I remembered. And
Yeah.
I do think that that's super cool. That gives me goosebumps on my arm.
Yeah. No, it's so cool because I think too, I mean, again, it's so cool that you can impact the people around somebody with cancer, in a way that's helpful to the patient, right? Like I don't have the ability to do that. That's your role, and it's so needed, right? I don't know. So there,
I think I always underestimate my role a little bit, but like
yeah,
I think I didn't do anything, but I showed up.
you did. That's exactly it. I think don't they say that's like 75% of life is
I
like
don't know.
showing up.
I'm like, I'm more likely to miss a birthday party or something than something really important. When the stakes are high, I'm
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, what do you think how do you think it's impacted you in terms of the way you think, the way you do things?
I think I'm grateful. I think that much younger I got to go. I don't know how long this ride is gonna last, and
Yeah,
to savor it. And you'll never hear
yeah,
me be like, "Oh,
yeah,
birthday," there. And I just
right.
and I remember since we just got past Thanksgiving, I remember like that first Thanksgiving. So it was almost a year
Yeah,
after your diagnosis. I'm thinking, God, this has been the best and the worst year all at the same time. And
yeah.
I didn't know those two could be the same year.
I find that they do. I think they do coincide. I think it's true that when life is just moving along, you kind of,
You miss it, or
yeah, like we understood the peaks and the valleys, right? Like, and how
yeah.
much those, yeah, do play together. So,
So I think I just see it all different. I guess hopefully a little more mindful of, I feel I try to recognize the peaceful times and
yeah,
recognize the turbulence is just, hopefully this is just turbulence and it will pass, and
yeah,
or we will get through it or whatever.
yeah.
So I guess it has changed me in a lot of ways. Just keeps my feet up. Maybe my feet are on the ground better than they were before. I don't know. Good
Okay.
question. How about
Do you remember what you told or your husband, Jeff, how much, when did you tell him about it? Or how did he know about it?
he probably knew about it the second, probably immediately. Or
Okay.
I, I can't imagine it is, like I always say, you don't have to know me very long or very well before you hear
Okay.
about my friend.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Okay.
He
I,
went, I know he was at the 3 day with us, and
okay. Oh,
he
yeah.
came in
That was pretty early on in that stuff. Yeah. Hmm. I'm just trying to think about like timeline of that because there's a little bit of time where I keep thinking about when you had bought your house, when you were single and you bought your house and you were doing great and everything. And you called me one day and you're like, I don't have a lawnmower.
we put my grill together or
And
something.
you were
Yes.
kind of melting down a little bit and you had
Yeah.
held it together so well through so many things. And I was like, well, I can freaking help you buy a lawnmower. So
I think that was the fear of being on my own
sure.
again and thinking, I don't know if I got what it takes, but I'm going to try. So, yeah, you helped me through a lot of those things.
Yeah.
Again, I've always, a part of me is I will rise to the occasion and I will fall apart on something dumb.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's
that's okay.
okay
At
though.
least I get the luxury of falling apart on something dumb. If it's important, I won't.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. We're all good at different things, right? I think that's true of all of us, though. I think we all fall apart at things that we then look back and go, why couldn't I handle that? It's because the
Right.
stress level went to the top, right? But yeah.
Or it wasn't that intense, and so it was a fine time to fall apart because you were
Sure.
going to sometime, and
Yeah.
might as well get it out of the way on the lawnmower.
Yeah. So when you hear people or when people come to you and are talking to you about like diagnosis, what do you usually tell them? What's your first thing?
Um, I do. I say I have to worry about being a little too curt about it, I think sometimes because
Yeah.
I always say I wouldn't wish it on anyone. I know good things come out of bad things. I'm not sure that's always what people want to hear, like because it
Yeah.
seems and I mean I'm sure I know how scary it is, so I'm sure I'm
Yeah.
empathetic, but I remember it must have been a fundraiser for something, and I asked it was like somebody, it wasn't really anything to do with me. Somebody else was playing softball or something, and I was
Yeah.
like, what kind of cancer is this for? Just any old cancer? And someone says, I've never heard someone say that before. And I'm like, well, I'm trying to figure out what we're fundraising for, but
Yeah.
so sometimes I'm like, so
Yeah.
I guess because yours was such a big diagnosis that.
Yeah. I think I definitely have problems with that too, or even just we just there was a local event and they did Bras for a Cause, and part of me is like, I can't even, say something. And again, all the money goes to the community, and it's like, okay, I get that, but also like,
I'm kind of like, I don't know, and I don't want to. I mean, we made it past October and all
yeah,
that, but I'm like,
yeah,
awareness. I think we're all aware. Let's
yeah.
figure this.
Well, and even, I mean, like, even the whole, sorry, going to the community, I'm like, okay, I don't know if people need another gas card. I mean, I get it, it's helpful, but we need research, we need cures, we need, I, I think some of that stuff is, I don't know. It's well intentioned, but
Yes.
so it does throw me off, at least, I would say. So,
And yes, and all of it on food products. And if you read the
oh yeah.
details, they're not really given that much. They're getting much more off the
They're
ribbon.
profiting off it way more than what they're donating, right? For
Right?
sure. So, yeah. So I can't even imagine at this point, I can't even imagine what our life would be like without
Yeah,
cancer.
I was thinking about that too. We mentioned we drifted before, and I'm like, I really don't even know what would have brought us back.
I don't
And
know either.
I really don't. And I'm glad we're back. I'm sorry. Maybe it was that was the road we had to go, but
Yeah, no, I think it's one of those things that there's no regrets in that for me,
me neither. No, I wouldn't have it any other way. Like
Right.
I can't imagine.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's been crazy. It's crazy to think that I've lived with it as long as I lived without it. I mean, I'm like, I literally remember now more life with cancer than life
Right?
prior to cancer, right? So
That's
it
incredible.
is crazy, but there's been a lot of good things. So,
And I think about like when we were 5, we had no idea what we were marching toward, and
yeah, yeah,
crazy.
it is crazy. But yeah, I just want to say thank you for walking this road with me, and I appreciate our friendship. And
I feel
yeah,
the same. And again, I've never been so sure of anything as I was going to be there with you.
yeah,
There was nowhere else on earth I was going to be.
all over every place we were. So,
Right.
well, I think the plan is just to keep making memories and not having them be related to hospital stays. So let's just stay on that track.
Stay the course.
Stay the course. Know we can handle tough things, but hope we don't have to. So
We've had a lot more fun than we have
for
had tough.
sure. Yeah, even in the tough places, I think we still had fun most of the time.
I mean, that's what I learned. There's cancer comedy. Who would have thought?
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely. We're only allowed to do it, but yes, there's a lot of that too, right? Like, I mean, it's kind of funny how
It doesn't translate well to anyone
No,
else.
no,
You
not at all.
can't share that story. You're like,
No, not at all. All right. Well, here's to the next 25 years. And thanks for coming on today.
thanks for having me.